Welcome to the Toastmasters Experience. My name is Evelyn. Get inspired by today's Toastmasters insights. Enjoy the show. And welcome to another episode of the Toastmasters Experience. Now, today's episode is just a little bit different. I interviewed Nitay back in March of 2022 on another podcast. The information is still relevant, and there were so many gold nuggets within the interview. So I just thought I would share it with you. So I hope you enjoy this interview. On today's show, I am very honored to have the 2021 second place winner of the World Championship of Public Speaking, Nitay Yair Levi. So I would like to welcome to the show Nitay. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much for having me, Evelyn. What an honor.
Yeah, no, it's an honor for me. Now, I want to start at the very beginning. Now, when did you first hear about Toastmasters? When did you first start, or how did this whole process start for you?
That's a very funny question. And I suspect my answer is going to be a bit of a left field answer. It started because I got married.
Okay.
I got married. I wrote a speech for my wedding. Probably the most important speech I would have ever had to deliver in my life. And my wife stood up and she delivered her speech, which, by the way, I haven't listened to before. And she killed it. She was animated. She was fantastic. And then it was my turn. And naturally, I was a bit nervous, but I expected that. I did read from a page, so I held that page. And I completely stuffed it up. Imagine saying something that you can say in 5 minutes in 30 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
It was terrible. It was terrible. And I realized that I actually saw people looking at their glass of wine and ordering more wine as I was speaking. And I'm sure if I would have had to chart the alcohol consumption throughout the night, when I was speaking, it went very high because people were absolutely bored, right? And it bugged me. It really bugged me. So a week or so after the wedding, I said, I really want to get better at this. It's horrific, right? And inside of me, I felt so good. I felt like I'm delivering a great speech. Yeah. But then I watched a video. Oh, it was disastrous. So I Googled, like most of us, I assume, who go to Toastmasters, and who don't know someone already in there. I said, public speaking courses and just this weird name Toastmasters kept popping up in the search. And I thought, what does making toasts have to do with public speaking? I know how to make a cheese toast. Long story short, a week later, I went to City Tattersall Club, which is my home club, just as a visitor. And I was hooked. I was really hooked.
There you go. And now you said your wife delivered an amazing speech. Was she? What does she do as a job, or why did she deliver such a good speech?
So I think with my wife is two things. The first thing, she has inherent skills throughout her workplace. She's a trainer. She delivers courses and trainer like a teacher. So she's used to standing in front of an audience who listen to her as a point of authority. So that's number one. Has she studied public speaking in the same way that we do now? No, of course not. But by profession over years, she developed some sort of skill set that said this works and this doesn't work.
Right.
But she was very nervous before she gave the speech. She said to me, I'm so nervous.
Yeah.
And I think that trainer or teacher mindset took over when she was in front of an audience.
Okay.
But what she's done best, and the reason she absolutely killed it, is because she spoke from her heart.
Yes.
And there was no one person in the audience who did not have a tear. Right. And you can't teach that. You either speak from your heart or you don't.
Very, very true. Very, very true. So you joined City Tattersall's, and how did you find that club?
Amazing. I was very hesitant at the beginning. I'm quite surprising to some people. I'm very introvert. I'm very shy. And it was intimidating for me at first to join the club, but I did. At the time, Victor, who was the VP of membership, later the president of the club, invited me. And the Toastmasters environment is so welcoming. so welcoming. Shortly after, I found a mentor. It was Mike Kenna McKellen, and the rest is history. But it was
Wow.
very, very warm to come into the club. And I lucked up a little bit because what I often recommend people who think about joining Toastmasters is to go and visit 4 clubs or 5 clubs,
Yes,
because each club
definitely.
has different cultures and you need to find a culture that suits you. And I was lucky enough that City Tattersall was exactly the environment that I needed to be in. So that was part luck. But Toastmasters organization is very welcoming, doesn't matter where you are.
Wow. And how long did it take you to give that first speech?
So it took me 6 months,
Wow.
or nearly 6 months. It took me 6 months to do my icebreaker. To those of you who listen and are not familiar with Toastmasters, icebreaker is the first speech that you do when you speak. And the topic is very easy because you speak about yourself.
Yeah.
You just say, this is who I am. Hello, this is my history. But I was very, very shy. I was very afraid, intimidated. 6 months. And then I remember I was walking from my office to the club, which is about a 10-minute walk. And I had 5 times in this 10 minutes in walk of me wanting to withdraw. I can't do it. I'm going to be sick. I just can't do it. I can't do it.
Wow.
And then I came to the club and there were 4 people because it was a public holiday and I didn't realize. So my icebreaker originally was held by 4 people or 6 people.
Uh-huh.
But the key is I got great evaluation. Not necessarily that I was good. The evaluation was great. It gave me confidence.
When was this? What year was this when you joined?
So this was in 2019.
2019. And you wow, 2021. Okay, so how did you get into competitions, though?
Well, that's also an interesting story. So I didn't realize that Toastmasters have competition, and nowhere in my wildest imagination would I think of, hey, I need to go into competition in Toastmasters. Definitely not in my first year, and definitely not when it took me 6 months to do my icebreaker.
Yeah.
But I did my icebreaker, and he wasn't my mentor at the time. He was a member of the club. Say, hey, how about you do your second speech in 2 weeks or thereabout? It's a contest, but don't worry about the contest. Just do it as part of your speech. And I said, yeah, okay. I didn't even know what a contest was. And I came to the contest and I delivered a speech. And funnily enough, Evelyn, the second speech that I ever delivered in Toastmasters is my finals speech in the World Championship of Public Speaking.
Amazing.
It is the same topic, the same speech.
Yeah.
Obviously, it changed a lot and evolved. But it was just the second speech I was giving at Toastmasters. And I came second in that competition.
That is amazing. I think when people hear that, they probably like me feel a little bit jealous, but I know that you did a little bit of work behind the scenes. Is that correct? So what made you get serious about? Yeah.
Yes. So the contest, I thought I'll be last. I truly thought I will be last. Truly.
Yeah.
And then the reason it changed, for some reason I came second. I don't know why I came second. And I was convinced I'm going to be last. And then the person who became my mentor, Mike Kenna McKellen, as soon as the contest finished, he came to me and he said, I when I do interviews, I say, he volunteered me. He volunteered me and told me at the same time. With the finger, he said, you are going to do the international speech contest. Not that I knew what it was. That's the reality. Yeah. And I said, yeah, of course I'm going to do it, right? And then I looked at Peter Anderson, who was sitting next to me, who was a member. I said, what's the international speech contest? So I did the international speech contest. But the thing was this. Mike was very good in the early days, and still today as well, to say, you really need to focus on the international speech contest. Yeah, you can do this. Yeah. Now, I didn't know what he meant by you can do this, but it was fascinating.
Yeah.
It was fascinating because for those of you who listen and you're introverts, you know exactly what I'm talking about. We walk around this world, us introverts, and it's very hard for us to at least that's what I think, to express ourselves to the outside world. We have all of this inside, but there's that space between the inside to the rest of the world on the outside. For example, with my wife, in my heart, before I met her, before we were dating,
Yeah.
I wanted to sing her serenades. I want to say,
Yeah.
I love you very much. You're so beautiful. But when I first met her for the first time, I said, hi. There was a gap between what I had inside to how I express myself on the outside. It was delving into the world of public speaking helped me reduce that gap. So I will no longer say hi when inside I have this whole serenade to sing to my wife, right? So that's why I got hooked, because all of a sudden it helped me formalize my thoughts, deliver them in a consistent way, and it's all techniques. Anyone can learn them, right?
Yeah.
But what the Toastmasters environment did is build confidence.
That's true.
And the reason I continued into the contest is because I was afraid of the contest, being judged,
right,
losing.
Right.
So I thought, if I want to test my confidence, I need to go there. It doesn't matter. And by the way, Evelyn, not a lot of people know, I was a member at the beginning. I joined 4 clubs, and I lost 4 contests in a row.
Wow.
In my first year. My first year, I won the district.
Yeah.
But before I got to represent City Tattersall, I lost 4 clubs in a row. Yeah, 4 clubs.
How did you prepare for your speech competition?
It's a very difficult question.
Okay.
And I'll explain to you why. Because I competed in the international speech contest twice in my life, right?
Yeah.
One is in 2020 and one is in 2021. In 2020, I won the district 70, very honored to represent district, but I did not progress beyond district. I was not successful in the regionals, which is like the quarterfinals. In 2021, I went all the way to, obviously, to the World Championship of Public Speaking finals, and I came second in the world out of, 35,000 people. The difference was the mindset. That was the difference.
Mindset. Okay.
At the beginning, I wanted to win. And that was the biggest mistake of my entire life, of focusing on the content and not on the message.
Okay.
Also, in my first year, I was too busy trying to learn the tools, the techniques, because I knew nothing. I still know nothing. Yeah. But I was like, what's a gesture? Basic stuff, what's a vocal variety? And what I need to use vocal variety. How do I use vocal variety? So I would research vocal variety. And then people will say, you need staging. I'm like, what's staging, right?
Yeah.
But that's just physical. But what about content of writing a speech? So we're still learning the tools, if you'd like, right, in that first year. And I put a lot of time into it. And then in the second, but there was a disconnect between the focusing on the message. I was too busy on winning, and I was too busy on the techniques. Second year, I already had some knowledge of techniques, but I realized I need to focus on what the lesson was. I need to focus on the message. So the second year, I said internally, damn the contest. It's a platform for people to hear what's important to me and hopefully will help them. And I know it sounds like a cliche, but it's the truth. Right. And all of a sudden, all these boundaries of the contest, all the boundaries of what is expected of us, the way we speak, or the boundaries of I need to use gestures, or I don't need to use gestures, or I need to make them laugh, or I don't need to make, it all disappears because it doesn't matter.
Right.
What matters is your voice, the message that you're giving to the audience, and the connection. Now, you're asking about the preparation.
Yes.
Okay? So in 2020, the preparation was technical. I need to raise my hand and use my voice 3 times to write that speech. Vocal variety, right? Which is mechanical, right?
Yeah.
In the second year, I dropped all of it. In the second year, I broke away from public speaking or the techniques of public speaking, and I researched psychology. I researched singing. I researched theater. I researched movies. And the reason being, because there's a lot of stuff that we can learn from those art forms and bring them to the world of public speaking. For example, I was very curious how people can formulate such a deep voice, and yet a second later when they sing in a very high voice.
Yes.
So I learned that there's a such thing as head voice and other type of voices that you can do. That's from singing. I went to beatboxing so I could do sounds, right? So the preparation was more exploration, not technical. I also had coaching.
Yes.
And that is absolutely important, right?
Yeah.
And in my first year, I had, it was just me and Louise Beaton,
Mm-hmm.
who is, I call her a partner in crime. I met her at Stage Time, the club,
Yep.
which is an advanced club in Sydney.
Mm-hmm.
I also joined Stage Time, the Stage Time University, to get feedback. But it was me and Louise Beaton who were just exploring this medium of Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
In the second year, I decided that I need to invest and also get a professional coach to help me.
Okay.
And in 2021, my professional coach was Press Vasila. Him and me connected, and he agreed to coach me. And he coached me throughout the whole season of 2021. And he brought a set of skills that opened my eyes. But the greatest thing about both Louise and Press, both of them are my coaches, Louise is also a mentor, is that they haven't limited me. They're way more experienced than I am in terms of technical.
Yeah.
But when I said, for example, oh, I want to release butterflies into the sky, I'm exaggerating here.
Yeah.
They never said no.
Yeah.
They never said no. They said, oh, why?
Yeah.
I'm like, that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they allowed me to use my own wings
Mm-hmm.
in exploring and going all the way to the Amazon jungles and bringing something from there and say, hey, I think this will work in public speaking. And a great example of it is, to those of you who have not watched my 2 speeches in the World Championship of Public Speaking in 2021, I encourage you to watch it, because you see some of the techniques that they use are not common in public speaking. But none of Louise or Prez said no. They said, why not?
Yes.
So they encouraged me to explore. Yeah, they encouraged me to be who I am. And that is absolutely important when you're looking for a coach. Yeah, so I did have professional help. And I'll make a point on that, Evelyn, even though that wasn't the question. I see a lot of people, especially in the international speech contest, who look and sound like their coaches.
Right.
You need to find a coach that doesn't shape you into who they are, but shape you into who you are.
Yes.
To help you be the better version of you.
Yes.
For me, it was Louise Beaton by 100 miles who encouraged me to be me, and Press Vasila, who is a world champion, to those of you who don't know him, who helped me be me.
Yeah.
The real me. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, I've watched both of your speeches, still trying to figure out how the heck you did half of the things you did. So, and just the stage space, because I like to be as well as I can be on Zoom, and I think, how did he do that without being out of focus and just moving so quickly? Anyways, those are probably secrets you can't share, but I'm
happy to. I'll share with you the principle.
Okay.
I have a doctorate in failing.
Oh, there you go.
I have a PhD in failing. So what you've seen in the speech might have been 1 second, but it is months of experimentation. And I used to go to clubs and fail. And the amount of time that people said, what on earth are you doing? Right?
Yeah.
And I will get 99 out of 100 practices. I will get 99. What are you doing? This is terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And it was terrible. And then at the 100th time, someone said, this is brilliant.
Yes.
But unless you fail 99 times, experiment to try and change, you're never going to get to that 100th time that someone say yes. So I have PhD in failing. I'm happy to fail. And
you were going to share something with me about personal stories, or was it immersive speaking that you were talking about before?
I'm happy to share it. Mm-hmm. So when I explored and I call it the art of public speaking. And to those of you who listen, Google public speaking. Mm-hmm. You'll see it's not called public speaking, it's called the art of public speaking. But as human beings, including myself, for the record, for a long time, I ignored the word art. And we need to understand that public speaking is it's an art form. Yes, there is vocal variety. Yes, there's staging. Yes, there is how to write a speech. But at the end of the day, it's an art. Picasso and all the great artists, the brush was just a tool for them. Yes. Those techniques that we have, they're just tools. Create art. Focus on the art, not the tools. Right? I believe that in around the 90s, I'm not going to spot exactly the year, mid-90s, early 90s, there was a paradigm shift in public speaking. All of a sudden, people stopped standing behind the lectern. I think it was the 70s when someone in Toastmasters environment, I can't remember the exact year, but he stepped away from the lectern and he started to stand in the stage. And everyone said, "What is he doing? This is not public speaking." But today, no one's speaking the contest behind a lectern, right?
Yeah.
And then other people started to sing. Yeah, Mark Brown sang in this speech, and people said, "That's not public speaking." Yet it worked, right? David Henderson, another world champion, he had a costume, a doctor costume, and then a pilot costume. And in the interviews that you hear him say, the contestant in the world championship, he's a world champion, said to him, "That's not public speaking. What are you doing?" Right? Yet he won. That opened my eyes to the possibilities of the art forms, and it can't be confined to what we believe that the rules are. And I often say we need to focus on the message and deliver what the speech must be, not what it should be. Now, in the 90s, as I mentioned before, there was a paradigm shift. There was a heavy focus into storytelling. So now you see a lot of the speeches, they'll tell personal stories to move the audience into a message, which I am a great fan of because that's what creates an emotional connection with the audience. I believe that now we're witnessing another paradigm shift. Not that storytelling shouldn't be used, absolutely should be used. And I'm a great fan of storytelling, but there's another paradigm shift. And before I talk about public speaking, it's all around us. If you look at movies, they started black and white. Then someone on the piano played next to the movie to create some music around it. Then they invented the voice. So all of a sudden movies had voice. Then they added color. Then they put it in your home with a TV. And then they put even a bigger TV and even a bigger TV. And now you have VR, virtual reality. And all of that trend is designed to do one thing. It's to immerse you in what you're watching. Have a look at your workplace. Your workplace have changed. Today, you are immersed in your workplace. Anything that you do in life, whatever you do, they try and immerse you in what you're doing, especially in entertainment. So I believe that we are now in the forefront. There's still a long way to go, but now there's a paradigm shift. And all of us, including your audience who's listening, we are innovators. We are on a paradigm shift of immersive speaking.
Yes.
It means that we need to step beyond the regular boundaries that we think they are and start to explore a little bit further. And we may fail a little bit, and that's okay. And then we're shaping a whole new paradigm shift. And that's how I take you, the audience, not just to hear me. How do you feel everything that I do? How do I take that VR goggle and I put it on your head so you see everything and you breathe everything and you smell everything? And that's the next phase, in my humble opinion, of public speaking, immersive speaking. And I'll give you an example of a few of the techniques that I discovered. And they're very left field. Sounds. I came with a concept that is called foundational sound. And I used it in the semifinals and in the finals. And in the semifinals, it was the sirens and the bombs, because I wanted to immerse the audience in the scenes. And it wasn't enough for me to say, oh, the bombs were everywhere and the guns were shooting. I could describe it quite animated too, but I wanted the audience to be there. So all this sudden I used sound. I said, why can't I do boom? Now, everyone thought it's crazy at the beginning, right? Or do the sound. The sirens, immerse the audience, make them feel the scene, hiding behind the wall. And again, to those of you who are listening or watching, watch the speeches, you see what I mean. So foundational sounds, foundational gestures, exploring and doing everything you can to bring the audience into the scene and feel it. Imagine your task is to put the VR goggle on their head and they need to be them. So that's immersive speaking. There's different techniques, of course. But I truly think that we're innovating now.
With speaking on the virtually, how would you compare that to speaking on stage? Do you think? I actually think it's more immersive. What is your point of view on that? What do you think?
The mistake I've done in 2020 is that I took the tools that worked on stage, and I assumed that those tools work in virtual world. That was a complete failure. And the reason being, and to those of you who are just listening to this podcast and don't see me on the camera, I just covered my screen. And most of the time when we speak on Zoom, my camera is still off. While I speak, people might go see how the cat is going. Mm-hmm. Or because I can be on mute, they'll say, Jonathan, where is my tea? Right?
Yes.
I can see them, right? So it's very easy to turn the camera off. By the way, I now turn my camera on to those who are watching at home. So the challenge on Zoom is even greater. You have to take the audience and they have to be glued to the screen. So you as a presenter have to do actually a lot more movement, a lot of moving on the screen than before. So the tools you have on stage, some of them will work on Zoom, most of them will not, absolutely will not. And what I've done when I shifted to Zoom, I researched a lot. And I said, what other art form glues the audience to the screen? And what do they do that I can bring to public speaking? So I delved heavily into the art of movies. Yeah. And I'm going to surprise your audience, because if you look at 1929 movies, an average scene, i.e. the camera is standing and showing one scene, was between 14 seconds to 29 seconds that the camera did not move. In 2008, the average, 2008, not even today, 2008, the average scene was 2.5 seconds. 2.5 seconds. So every 2.5 seconds, the camera moves. And I've researched why. And the reason for that is to create engagement, because the audience attention span is small and low. And you ask, okay, so what does this have to do with public speaking? Is if you watch the two speeches that I delivered last year, every 2.5 seconds or thereabout, I move. I move from one side of the screen to another side of the screen to another. Something happens on the screen every 3 seconds. And if it's a very poignant moment or emotional moment, we're at 6 seconds, but that's it. Movement on the screen. Now, I'm still exploring it myself. What can I explore from other art forms that are helpful to me in public speaking? I also looked at beatboxing. Why? Because I wanted to learn how to do sounds. I looked at dance. Why? Because I have a confined space and I need to move in a certain way. So they have great steps. I looked at different art forms to be able to engage the audience and look at the art of immersion.
Wow.
That's the new frontier, immersion, right? Now, when we go back to stage, that paradigm shift doesn't stop. We need to find new ways to immerse the audience on the stage even more. And I have a few ideas, which I won't share them today because I do want to try them next year in the contest. Because if it's on stage,
it's
I would
totally
like
different.
to explore them.
Yeah.
Right. And I said, bring it on. That would be amazing, right? To try that.
I just feel like the last 2 years you've just been researching. Is that?
Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely. But not just public speaking. In the first year, it was just public speaking to learn as I said, tools.
Yeah.
But once you know how to hold the brush, and I'm not saying I'm great in metaphorically speaking, holding the brush. I'm by far not the best. But then you can stop and say, okay, I understand what the brush is. Now, hey, these guys, this guy in dance, they have a few moves in dance. I wonder whether I can bring them to whatever it is that they're doing. So that's why I focus on the word art.
Yes.
Because art doesn't confine you to a set of tools like just vocal variety. That's mechanical. That's not art.
Yeah.
Art is just looking into horizon and saying, what else can serve my message here? Maybe I should paint at the background. I don't know.
Yeah.
But if me painting while I'm speaking serve the message, guess what, Evelyn? That's exactly what I'm going to do. Yeah?
Wow.
If I need to jump off the burning car, do 5 loops and roll while I'm wearing a tuxedo and while I speak, so it serves my message, that's exactly what I'm going to do.
Wow.
So the key is to focus on the message. The key is to focus on the word art and to express the message in an artistic way that emphasize the message to the audience. And don't be confined to what you think it should look like.
Right.
Deliver what it must look like.
Like what it must look like. What is it that you value most about Toastmasters?
So to those of you who either watch or listen and are not members of Toastmasters, when you join a Toastmaster club, you realize that everything is being evaluated. Even the chairman of the meeting is being evaluated. Even the evaluators are going to get evaluated. And that's the power of Toastmasters. And the evaluation are not nasty, they're not bad. They're designed to help you grow. And I remember the first time I got evaluated, I was like, oh no, they're going to evaluate me. Oh no, it's all going to be bad. But the way Toastmasters evaluate is great. They say, hey, Evelyn, you've done this great, right? You may consider this, boom, 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 boom. And by the way, that was great. And the way Toastmasters teach you to do evaluation is to encourage people to grow. Mm-hmm. So you look at the evaluation, you're actually looking forward to the evaluation because you say, oh, I can improve on this. That's great. That worked, that didn't work. But it's a safe environment to fail. There's no bad results if you stand in front of a Toastmaster club and you forget your words. Not at all. The club will encourage you. The evaluation will encourage you. It will give you techniques how to remember the words. The most powerful thing to me in Toastmasters is the evaluation.
Yeah.
Absolutely critical.
And I think if you're open to following some of that advice, you don't have to follow all of the feedback, then that is what makes you grow to be a better speaker. So that's obviously that's what's happened with you. Another thing that I've learned, this is your second language. So that just blows my mind that English is your second language.
I went to see a speech therapist this year or 2021 for the contest. Oh. That's how far I had to go. Because some of the words that I was pronouncing, even the word world, I couldn't pronounce it well. Or the word world, right? I couldn't pronounce it well. Or hummus. Louise Beaton said, hey, your pronunciation are wrong, right? And she's my mentor, right? Yeah. She said, you need to seek help. She tried to help me, but she said, hey, you need help on this, right? And she was absolutely right. Because if I'm speaking to someone in Africa or India or China or wherever it is in the world, they're not going to understand what I'm saying. I need to be able to be in a clear English, and this was my accent. So I went to see a speech therapist, Bin. If anyone wants a great speech therapist in Sydney, Bin. And Bin helped me pronounce those words right. That's the dedication you need to have to get better.
And also not to be offended with feedback because you're into your ego, just to know that people are there to help you and you're there to deliver that message. Yeah.
You touch on a great word, ego. If you dedicate yourself to the message, ego cannot and should not ever, never be on the way. When someone who are dear to you, like Louise Beaton to me and Mike McKellen and Chris Vasila, say, hey, this is not good, you better listen. Because if you don't listen, you're failing your message.
Yes.
You're failing your message. And if the message is important to you, you will put your ego down and you will go see a speech therapist and say, hey, there's a few words I can't pronounce very well. Can you help me? Why not? And he'll say to you, oh, it's because you come from this country, the way your language is like that, and you need to change the way you think about the way you pronounce words, etc., etc. But after 2 sessions, guess what? You know, pronounce it fine.
There you go.
So if you had the ego, you would never pronounce it right.
Right.
Put the ego down.
Wow.
Yeah, dedicate yourself to the message. Yeah.
It's just been such a pleasure talking to you. I could talk to you all night. I've learned so much from just listening to you right now, and I'm sure the listeners out there will have learned a lot as well. I look forward to having you on another show because I would like to talk a little bit more about
absolutely
this immersive speaking and other things, you know. So yeah, so I just wanted to thank you and just give you a little bit of a Thank you so much for your company. Please tune in next time to the Toastmasters Experience.